Hello and welcome to this episode of UTalk. This time we have a really exciting guest. We have Markus Schorn here, who is a co-author of a book that he will explain you in a second. And today we will talk about, are we ready for the 10x economy in Europe? So we hopefully learn where we stand currently in terms of tech and mindset, and also what we actually need to change to be ready, and also to compete with Asia, with the US, and stay basically innovative in Europe. So my name is Thomas. I'm one of the managing directors of UnternehmerTUM and chief digital officer. And I pass now to Markus. Markus, maybe you can tell us a bit about yourself and your book, and then we get started.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for the invite, Thomas, to the UTalk. My name is Markus Schorn. I'm together with Frank Thelen, the co-author of the book 10x DNA, Mindset for a Thriving Future. And in this book, we analyze what really makes 10x thinking, what are the technologies that are now right at the gates that will boost or kickstart a new phase of innovation in the next decade for humankind. And today, I think we want to talk about this mindset. What can entrepreneurs and what can innovators do?
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks, Markus, for being here today with us. So if you would like to connect to Markus or myself, you will also see our LinkedIn profile. So feel free to connect and ask us whatever is interesting for you. So Markus, let's straight dive into the topic. You mentioned mindset. It seems to be a buzzword in these days, but still it's very important not only to talk about technology, but also how to approach it. So how would you describe a 10x mindset?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to understand the 10x mindset, you have to go back to the origin of the term. So when it was first coined, and it was the original moonshot, actually, the moon landing project, the Apollo program that led to this 10x thinking. So when President Kennedy gave the order to land a human on the moon and bring it back safely, the NASA engineers, they had to completely come up with a new solution. In order to achieve this goal, they had to improve the rockets 10x, and this was the first time this 10x term was used. And so they had to basically invent the rockets from the scratch, and to think bold, and to really come up with new solutions that so far had not even been thought about. And so in the book, Frank and I drill down this thinking and what makes it, and I think the core of it is one to understand where innovation comes from, and you have to have the courage to think 10x. Here in Europe, for example, we often excel at making things 10% better. And this is all this tinkering, engineering. Take the car industry, for example, that we have here in Europe, where every new generation of car is 3-5% more fuel efficient, and the Spaltmaß, between the door and the body of the car, the millimeters. But this is what we in Europe excel at. But really have trust and courage to think 10x better. When Elon, again with the car industry as an example, when he went out to build cars, he wanted 100% fuel reduction. So he went this electric route. Yeah. And another thing that we had in the book was that you need to trust technological progress. So you need to be very confident that technology will deliver your fundament for your big idea in the future. And we had this example also in the book about Gmail. When the Google Mail team, they come up with this, their first proposition, they wanted to give the users 1 gigabyte of free storage. And at that time, it was totally bonkers. The Hotmail guys and GMX, whoever was around there, they said, how will they ever be able to finance this. It could never be profitable because the storage was cost of the storage was so high. But the Google engineers trusted in one of the laws of technology progress that we have in the book, which is called Wright's Law. And Wright's Law is it's a BWL, an economy industry law that the cost of goods that you produce, it reduces or it decreases with the increase of the production. And the Google guys were very confident that they trusted that when they had a large number of users with 1 gigabyte of storage, that the price of storage would actually be cheap enough that they could make their case. And the third area, I think, is curiosity. So looking back to inventors like Steve Jobs also, they all were curious. They always wanted to look beyond their own bubble, curious about new things, find inspiration in other areas of life and other areas of society that they could use to come up with new ideas.
Cool. Yeah, so I definitely agree. And at UnternehmerTUM, obviously, we work with a lot of startups, entrepreneurs, as well as intrapreneurs, innovators of established companies. And what you describe, I think a lot of the early startups have this entrepreneurial mindset, this 10x mindset, but it gets a bit lost when you went through the school of thought of a classical corporate. So I think definitely agree, we have to be more bold. And this is what is a critical part of innovation. So I personally like also the term of school of thought. And we at UnternehmerTUM, besides this entrepreneurial spirit, we also believe in the experimental mindset. So to test as early as possible. And the best startups typically are the ones that test the fastest. So this is a critical component, as well as a hardcore customer centricity approach. And last but not least, what's also critical is, so you could describe it with agile, you could describe it with new work. And this is going back to what motivates us as people, as humans, and then work purpose-oriented. And I think if you bring this all together, then great things can happen. But maybe to ask you a bit more concretely, so we talked about mindsets, but what are actual skills you think we need in Germany and in Europe to succeed in the future? Is it just technology, or where do you see the roles here?
Yeah, it's always the combination, and you are fully right to highlight this experimental thinking. You need this combination. On the one hand, this mindset and this passion about solving problems, trying to get rid of problems. On the other hand, you need this deep tech competencies. So the next decade will be all about deep tech breakthroughs. There are lots of new technologies standing at the gates, like quantum computing, like take gene editing, synthetic biology, CRISPR, edge computing, AI. So you need competencies in these areas, and to really come up with new great solutions. And yeah.
No, please go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So and ideally, you would have not only expertise not only in one area, but two. So because combination of these new technologies is the key. You know, all these that we have in the book, it's called this toolbox of the future. All these new technologies like CRISPR, like edge computing, AI, and quantum, all this stuff, they are born digital. So because they are digital, they can be combined. So thinking hybrid, being able to combine ideas of different from different domains, from like biology, synthetic biology, and artificial intelligence. They both can work together hand in hand and bring up new solutions that you usually would not have come up with. So this deep competencies or deep tech competencies and being able to combine different areas is very, very key. The other thing that I think entrepreneurs must do is make use of the experiences and the thinking of the first phase of the 10x era, the internet era, the smartphone era. This was phase 1.0. And what we saw there is that because everything was digital, it could be connected and combined to come up with new products. Take Uber, for example. Yeah, it's a combination of car, GPS, smartphone, and mobile payment. So it's just a combination of different industries at the time, but combined into a new business model. And so you could just call it taxi with your smartphone. Yeah, this is this combination of things to come up with new solutions. The other two areas or point that are important, everything is scalable, everything is cloud-based, so you do not need to rely, or you have all world-class technology available at your fingertips now. You know, Amazon Web Services, Azure, and all this stuff. So everything is scalable instantly, and because it's digital, there are no physical boundaries. Everything is virtual. When you launch a new product today in Sydney, it could be in London the same day. You know, there are no boundaries when it comes to market your new ideas.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. This is also what we see, and I mean, this is also the big change that very young entrepreneurs, they have the technology at their fingertips to innovate. So this is yeah, a huge potential, and then recombine existing technologies, come up with something new. What we also see at UnternehmerTUM, for example, at Digital Product School, is that we have two main areas where we need to improve. One is a concrete skill set, for example, in a technology field like AI or software engineering, or even let's call it design or product management. But the other role that is emerging is the role of a coach, because the more diverse the teams are, the more conflicts evolve. But still, diverse teams are really important. So I really believe that in the future, this coaching role will be pretty critical to build high-performing teams.
Yeah, I fully agree, because it's this team thing that is important, because finding people who are fully, deeply knowledgeable in AI and synthetic biology and still can do go-to-market stuff, you will not find these. So it's exactly important to build the right teams and make them click and work together seamlessly. Fully agree.
Yeah, and I think actually this is something that is not fully understood in Germany or also in the European Union, that you have to be top class in all of those new fields. It's not enough to just have the best software engineers. You also have to have the best designers, product managers, coaches, and so on and so forth. So where, like we talked about, are we ready in Europe? So what would be your recommendation for Germany? What would be your investment areas to get better?
Our investment areas, let's start first with our base, where we start from here in Germany and in Europe. And the good thing is we still have leading universities, so world-class scientists. Look at the COVID vaccines, for example. One of the first vaccines coming out of this whole high-speed development process were some German engineers, some German scientists coming up with this new vaccine. So we still have a very good world-leading base of scientists, and I think that's where we need to drill on or base our investments on, and then. And I think this is a bit touching into this coach thing that you mentioned, and make sure we combine this scientists, these coming up with breakthrough, groundbreaking technology stuff, and make sure that they can apply this new technologies to user problems, to the market. So, and this is there where we need to focus, I think, on two things. One is re-emphasize our strength in science, in really deep tech science, and on the other hand, make sure that the ideas can come to market smoother and with help.
Absolutely, and I'm glad that you mentioned science, because we have a big initiative. It's called TUM Venture Lab. So the idea is exactly to leverage all the great scientific talent we have, but then add entrepreneurship. And here also the idea is goes a bit in the 10x direction, because we currently have already a lot of progress of startups coming out of the university landscape, but our goal is to have 10 times more. And this is the goal of TUM Venture Lab. So we had an episode previously on TUM Venture Lab. So I definitely agree. And what I also think is one important aspect is deep tech, and the other one is also upskilling in terms of those new roles. So when you look at, for example, corporate, so it's, from my perspective, it's also important to upskill people that they are ready for the next industry. And this sounds pretty easy, but what we've learned is you have to gain the experience. So you can't just go to a workshop or a training like it used to be. You really have to experience, and you have to get eye openers. So you have to understand, what does it mean to work agile? So otherwise it's just a buzzword. Or what does it mean to talk to customers and so on? And I think what always worries me is we have so many great examples, but we are not that good in scaling the successful examples. So also like UnternehmerTUM and so on, there's actually entrepreneurship centers that have already the track record. Now we need to establish more UnternehmerTUMs, and we need to just progress with a faster pace from my perspective. But so now, since everybody is talking about the COVID crisis, so in this situation, do you think we should invest actually more in digital, or we should invest smarter? So what would be your recommendation out of what we've learned during the last 12 months?
Yeah, the thing I found most interesting in this horrible situation was during this first lockdown last year, early last year. It was interesting, the momentum we were able to generate as a country in this first push to become digital. Yes, it was it had some pitfalls, and it was very improvised, but we had a very much power, a lot of power in going digital. And there are some corporations who switched their call centers from physical company buildings to their home office within a week. And it was making sure that thousands of call center agents move places, you know. So first did this the way that we are able to do it. Now we need to analyze and make sure that we can do this more often and maybe even more structured way. And for this, I think we need more invest in this digital base, digital infrastructure, because then all the rest would be easier, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes if you are getting thrown into the cold water, you get those eye openers. So we saw it also in our company, like even folks that didn't really believe in home office. Obviously, when they try it out, it seems to work. And another learning from my side is that don't take things for granted just because you believe in it. So, I mean, we are digital people, but still, I always believe that very creative work, for example, in the digital product team, is best done when everybody sits together. But challenge your assumptions, and we challenge them, and sometimes it works even better. So it's crazy. Or why should even socializing couldn't be done remotely? So I think always try to challenge what you believe in. That was really one of the key learnings. So yeah, maybe to close on our talk. So what would be like a lot of people from small and medium companies are also watching us. What would be your concrete recommendation as a next step to get more 10x mindset into a company?
Yeah, to get first, as I said, the mindset is truly important, and that the employees really buy into this mindset. About curiosity, about trying out new things, because, and this will be the eye opener in the past, or will be in the future. The competition is now coming from everywhere, because everybody can now have access to world-class infrastructure through cloud computing. Innovation and competition can literally come from anywhere. And one quote on this, I spoke to an innovation leader of a large US company, and once he told me, Markus, in Germany you are lucky because you have fear. You know, you have fear that your status and that your Mittelstand will come under fire, and this forces you to move, and maybe use a bit of this fear, this sense of urgency, to really force the digitalization and force this new thinking within your company. So as long as we have some financial firepower, and we are financially stable, use this to launch the next phase and make your industry or your company weatherproof for the digital world.
Thank you, Markus. I think this is a pretty good summary of what we've discussed. So I think we can be optimistic, but it's obviously time to jump into the cold water, and then we can only win out of this. So thank you very much, Markus, for your time, and also thanks to the audience. We have a newsletter, an event newsletter that you can subscribe to not miss any of the U Talks. And I'm really looking forward to the next U Talk, and feel free to connect to Markus and myself. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.